Spoilers incoming! If you actually give a shit. Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Manga Rider and today I've uploaded a video. Yeah, it's been a while. As some of you may already know by now, The Land Before Time, which was created by Don Bluth back in the 80s, is my favorite film, period. To those who did not know that, allow me to direct you to a video where I praise it for a couple of minutes right here in the card. I promise you it's actually one of my better videos. As a child, The Land Before Time has always been a comfort movie of mine. I've seen it probably more times than I can physically remember, and I just love it. I mean, what's there not to love? A kid's movie that's a dark and depressing tale at the start that traumatized entire generations, and a film that really likes to beat the child main characters up while they're down? Sign my child self the fuck up. It's a timeless animated tale of kids overcoming all odds and coming out the other side as grown characters that deserve their reward at the end after all the hardship they had to deal with. And with the film being gorgeously animated in the Don Bluth style, The Land Before Time holds a place in my heart that only contains my most treasured memories, joined only by Thomas the Tank Engine and Tom and Jerry. So it should come as no surprise to you that my child self was completely enthralled with the idea of there being a ton of sequels made featuring the characters I loved so much. The Land Before Time, at the time of this video being made, has not one, not two, but 13 different sequels under its belt, with the most recent one coming out in 2016, which I haven't seen yet. And as you would expect from direct-to-video sequels, these films range from being charming, tame, to forgettable, and even annoying. Do yourself a solid and just stop after the 11th movie. But my childhood self had absolutely zero standards growing up, so I was happy with there being so many sequels, and I was a happy little boy as I watched these films during the course of my early years. Now that I've reached my adulthood and the power of nostalgia has become a force far too powerful for me to take control of, I took it upon myself to revisit some of these films and see if I still liked them after all these years. After all, Magic Railroad became better with age, so what's the harm? Again, one of my better videos, video in the card. As I was expecting though, my ratings went from greats and even amazings to just okays and bads. Don't get me wrong, there's this rose-tinted nostalgia to these films that I will never be able to shake off, but even then, I can still see where these movies are flawed. It's kinda just to be expected when you revisit your childhood-defining things. It's nothing personal. What I was not expecting to experience, however, is to watch one of these sequels and consider it to be right before my love of the original animated film. Yes, you heard me right. The OG Land Before Time. My all-time favorite movie. And what I didn't expect in a million years was for that sequel to be the 9th one. So, let's talk about The Land Before Time 10, The Great Longneck Migration. I swear that I can explain. So first, let's begin with the plot. The story is about Littlefoot having these weird dreams of the sun falling out of the sky, and these dreams have been giving him a feeling of going on a big migration, as he feels like his dreams are actually a prophecy for something that's about to happen. In reality, what's actually happening is that Littlefoot is dreaming of a future solar eclipse, but you know, dinosaurs don't understand shit. Also, dreams in these films are called sleep stories, and just... God, I love the cute names the characters give everyday things. It just makes these films so fucking charming. What's even more strange is that his grandparents and even other longnecks have been having the same dreams as well, and thus decide to trust their instincts and go on a journey. Littlefoot having to of course leave the boys behind back in the Great Valley. After some hijinks involving a giant crocodile, it's actually called a Sarcosuchus, but I know that I'm already sounding like a fucking nerd to you people, so I'ma just spare you from all of that. And meeting up with another longneck named Sue, the three, along with many others, continue on their quest, being led by nothing but instinct, until eventually they make it to a giant crater, with Littlefoot getting a feeling that they made it. While this is all happening, the boys back home get roped into the adventure by Sarah having the most in-character dream I've ever seen. God, that's so good. And decide to follow Littlefoot as well, getting into their own wacky hijinks with the crocodile, a sharp tooth, fucking lava, and meeting new characters along the way, like another Longneck named Pat, who lets the boys tag along with him. Back at the crater, Littlefoot gets fucking double tapped by another small Longneck named Shorty. And before getting ready to make Shorty know his fucking place, gets interrupted by another Longneck named Braun, who breaks them up and gets to chatting with Littlefoot. But as his grandfather looks on in shock, it turns out that this mysterious Longneck is actually Littlefoot's father.
Excuse me, what?
Yeah, Littlefoot has a dad, who's still alive. They decided to just pull this bombshell out in the 9th fucking movie, Jesus Christ. And so the film tells a tale of Littlefoot's newfound relationship with his dad, the boys trying their best to get to their friend, while family and natural conflicts get riled up to an all-time high. There is so much to unpack here. The Land Before Time 10 just kind of woke up and decided to go, you know what? Fuck it, we're just gonna do something different in this one. And you know what? They've really fucking nailed it on, like, almost everything. For one, the narrative is paced extremely well. No scene ever feels too long or too short in this movie. It knows exactly when it's time to move the plot along and when it's time to develop their characters. It knows how to time its emotional and deeper moments and knows exactly when to stop joking around, which is something I really didn't expect from the 9th sequel of a movie franchise. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, holy shit. And I gotta say, the jokes are pretty good. Most of them managed to hit their marks just right, and there were even some that got a bit of a chuckle out of me, the best joke easily being this one.
Three-horns never have sleep stories. They're for babies. They're all just full of dumb stuff that could never happen.
In my sleep story last night, I saw you butt your head against this tall rock, and it split right in half. Yeah, but like you said, sleep stories are dumb. Something like that could never really happen.
Holy shit, you fucking killed her, dude!
Haven't seen this much shade being thrown since the first movie, fucking scathing. The transitions to each scene play off each other wonderfully, always being used at just the right moments, making sure that every character gets just the right amount of screen time without overstaying their welcome. Littlefoot is the one that gets the most screen time, and yeah, that's completely fair enough, it's basically his movie. Even the songs, which usually are very forced and screech the plot to a halt in the other films, actually fit the story, both in pacing and themes, really well. The song involving Littlefoot's time with his dad did a nice job at developing their relationship quickly, and one song even managed to get emotion out of me, but I'll talk about that later. This film is a brilliant example of how to tell a good story within 1 hour and 20 minutes, since the movie doesn't try to pack too many things into its runtime, but has just enough material in it for an audience to chew on without getting bored. Speaking of smooth plot progression, the film also does a great job at answering all the questions at just the right moment. The mystery as to how the Longnecks had the same sleep story was handled very solidly. It was in the spotlight for just long enough to keep me invested in it without it becoming an overbearing plot point, which I've seen happen in way too many pieces of other media. And the answers to this mystery has that same charm as the cute little names from before. The film's explanations as to why the Longnecks' necks are so long and why the solar eclipse happened are just...
It seems that a long, long time ago, the Night Circle got jealous of the Great Circle. The Great Circle is so much brighter and folks stay awake for it, but sleep while the Night Circle's up there, things like that. Anyway, so the Night Circle grabbed the Great Circle and threw it from the sky so it'd smash into the world below. There just so happened to be a herd of longnecks standing down there, and they stretched their necks up and caught the Great Circle on their heads and then shoved it right back up into the sky. So that's why, to this very day, we have such long necks, so we can put the Great Circle back up in the sky.
God, they're adorable. They're so cute. I can't be mad at this film. But not only is the lore handled really well, but the tension is something I wasn't expecting to see so much of. In the other sequels, while some did better than others, the more consistent pattern is that the actual threats to the characters are really not that threatening. But not this film, fuck no, this movie has some pretty damn good stakes. The staple in Land Before Time films, in case you didn't know, is that nature and everything that lives beyond the Great Valley is always out to get the characters. Going outside the Great Valley is like walking into a sea of broken glass. And this film decides to take that and crank it up a notch. Was a T-Rex a big enough threat in the last 2 movies? That's cool. Then just add 2 more. An earthquake isn't in this movie? That's fine, just replace it with lava that actually gets a hit on a character and causes them a massive inconvenience when they're fighting for their life. The heroes have to travel across a mysterious swamp? That's great, just have them almost get eaten by a crocodile the size of a fucking T-Rex. In this film, none of the kid characters catch a break while they're on their journey, which did a really great job at keeping me invested in the film, even as I watch it now. All around, the story is fucking good, props all around. Also, this animation is really damn good. Sure, it does have that straight-to-DVD budget, so characters can sometimes look a little weird and leads to some pretty funny freeze frames like here and here, but to be fair, the animators did a really great job even with their limitations. Characters have this nice weight to them whenever they walk or run, backgrounds look beautifully vibrant and lively, chase scenes feel intense and pack a great punch, and even the fight scenes have some decent choreography and bite to them. The crocodile attack was a scene that was done excellently, and the expressions. There is a lot of moments in this movie where characters just use their faces and bodies to show what they're thinking and don't say a word of dialogue, and these moments are always my favorite. The subtle changes made to the expressions to illustrate how a character is feeling is top tier animation storytelling. The scenes where Littlefoot says goodbye to his grandparents, Shorty being jealous of Braun spending time with Littlefoot, and the grandparents talking to Braun about taking Littlefoot are 3 wonderful examples. But when the characters do have to talk, I'm happy to say that the voice acting is very good. Everybody has the ability to sell their lines, and the emotional performances are done really, really excellently. Littlefoot's voice actor has some really good moments here. It's great stuff.
Where were you? All this time? Where were you?
With us.
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, now that I found you, I don't want to lose you.
Oh. Yeah. I know. Huh? Oh no! He's great. That's the problem. I didn't even know I had a dad. Now, I don't want to lose him. I don't want to leave Grandma and Grandpa. Or you guys. But I can't give my dad up. I just met him. I don't know what to do.
Even their singing is fairly endearing. The voice actors all managed to get that perfect balance of hitting the notes while also keeping the voice, and I'm really impressed by that. I think that it was around the time of this film where the cast just had the right amount of time to get used to their voices, and in this movie they just fucking sell it. What else can I say? The boys' voices are just fucking perfect. I have no complaints at all. One thing that you probably noticed by now is that a lot of this film contains small amounts, and sometimes large amounts, of CGI, mainly when it comes to the bigger shots and the backgrounds. I do think that while sometimes the CGI gets a bit overbearing and does look a bit uncanny in some places, I didn't think the CG was all that bad. I feel like the film did a really nice job at trying to blend the 2D characters into these 3D backgrounds, and I believe that it allowed the film to be far bigger in scale. There was a lot of big and wide shots of open plains and life, and scenes where the camera moves around showing the characters from all kinds of angles, which does wonders at making them look like they belong in the world, and to be fair, it rarely looks unnatural, and they're usually my favorite shots in the film. The scene of Littlefoot talking to his grandmother, I think, is where the CGI really helped in making the journey feel more grand and more epic. I apologize for my voice, I'm very sick. But where I believe the film really shines is in its cast. Everyone is portrayed perfectly. I guess the main advantage to having so many films is that by the time the movies reach the double digits, the characters have been on enough adventures to get defining traits and quirks. And in this one, the writers just knew exactly who these guys are, and just made them really likable. Ducky has a great sense of curiosity and quirky way of speaking, Petrie is still the lovable and honest coward, and Spike is just... well, he's Spike, what can I say? Littlefoot has this really well-defined character to him, but I'll talk about him later so I don't repeat myself here. In general, all the boys have this great chemistry and rapport with one another, and every interaction feels very natural. It excellently shows that these guys at this point have an inseparable friendship. Every line that they speak and every action they take is 100% in character, with the best example being Sarah. Sarah has always been the most well-defined character throughout the Land Before Time movies. From her short-tempered anger, her stubbornness to admit when she's wrong, to her hidden insecurity and her casual three-horn supremacy, because of course the Land Before Time films really like making three-horns fucking racist. The Land Before Time 10 has the best portrayal of her character since the first film. Every action she does and every line she says are done and acted in a way that masterfully captures her personality. And whenever she did anything, I'd sat through the whole movie just going, yeah, only Sarah would say that. Or, yeah, only Sarah would do that.
Don't even think about it. What part of it don't you understand? It's the Great Circle. You see it every day. Why is it suddenly so interesting? I did not. I said some things. But this headbutting thing, I could do that. Who'd want to go on an adventure with a bunch of long necks anyway? Oh, come on. Don't be babies. If you get a good running start, you can jump over that water easy.
You sure you couldn't use some help now?
No thanks. We'll be fine on our own. I don't believe it. Longneck saved the world. This is gonna kill my dad.
There's many more examples that I could pick from this film, but I think you get the gist. I just can't get over that the reason the boys even went after Littlefoot was because Sarah had a nightmare about him getting attention, and worst of all, praise from her dad. If this isn't Sarah's whole character, I don't know what the fuck is. Speaking of scenes that show entire characters, let's talk about Shorty. The long neck that fucking bodied Littlefoot like it was nothing. Shorty was a character that I'm so glad didn't turn out to be annoying, because holy shit, it would have been so easy to fuck him up. His whole shtick is something all of us have seen before. Character who is jealous of main character because mentor gives him more attention than them. We've all seen this, and let's be fair, it's usually not done right. This is something that could have made Shorty into this really petty asshole that wouldn't get any sympathy, but in the film, I ended up actually completely empathizing with him. What I appreciated the movie doing was making Shorty an orphan, and on top of that, an almost parental figure to longnecks smaller than him before Braun showed up. By giving us this very quick scene, it gave us all the context needed to explain why Shorty grew so attached to Braun and why he's an asshole to Littlefoot and creatures smaller than him. From an early age, Shorty had to fight the harsh nature all by himself. He had to be tough in order to survive, hence why he gets so aggressive and hot-headed whenever someone tries to confront or talk back to him. Survival and violence is all he really knows. It's what got him as far as Braun. Nobody wanted him in their herds, and thus he was all alone and could only rely on himself for protection. So when Braun showed up and took him in, Shorty had the closest thing to a father figure he's ever had, and it explains why he buckles so easily around him when he tries to lie to his face. He just has that much respect and admiration for the longneck that took him in. So to see basically his dad almost abandon him in order to spend time with his real son, it's no wonder why Shorty looked at Littlefoot with resentment at first. Littlefoot saying things along the lines of "my dad" to him is a really horrible reminder to Shorty that his real parents abandoned him. To Shorty, that just fucking stings.
Well, he's my dad. Ow!
Yeah, not gonna lie, buddy. You completely deserve that. And when we see Shorty walking away from the herd and heads off to be alone, his actions make all the sense in the world. And when he finds out that Littlefoot actually isn't being selfish with his dad and sees him more like a brother than a rival, Shorty's change in attitude towards him, while a bit quick, is still a really touching moment. For the first time in his life, Shorty is seen as an equal, and knows that Braun, even if he spent a lot of time with his real son, still loves him very much. Shorty has a really nice little character in this film. It's really cute stuff to see. Speaking of cute stuff to see, Bronn was handled so well in this film. Holy shit, this guy is a really good dad character. Again, this trope has been done before in other films. A long-lost parental figure reconnecting with their children after not being with them during their formative years. And I'm still a bit shocked to see just how well this trope was used here. Bronn's backstory as to why he wasn't around for his son is one that is not only completely understandable, but fits in very nicely with the lore of these films. Having his dad leave to find a better place for his family to live in, only to come back and see the world shattered into pieces, and on top of that, hearing what happened to his wife and his son is just... Fuck, ow! The backstory also did wonders at showing off just how good of a guy Bronn is. Despite seeing the massive crack in the earth and hearing of his wife's passing, when he heard nothing about the fate of his son, having it so that Bronn immediately went searching for him and not stopping for many days, even months, is really tragic, but also very heartwarming. This guy probably thought that his son was dead, and instead of just accepting it, went to find some proof. That's some good dad shit right there. What I also liked about this backstory was that Bronn's life wasn't just about searching for Littlefoot. While he was on his travels, he came across Shorty and a pack of small longnecks, and instead of just leaving them to die, he takes them in and takes care of them, showing that Bronn is willing to lend out a hand to anyone who needs it. And it seemed he was so good at it that by the time he meets Littlefoot, he became a leader with a full herd of people who look up to him for guidance and support. What I really appreciated this backstory doing was show that Bronn just had a life before meeting Littlefoot. At some point, he couldn't just keep looking for his son, who he didn't even know was dead or alive. Especially now that he had folks of his own who looked up to him. Eventually, he had to move on from his goal and become something else for people that depended on him, and because of that, he grew as a character. It's tragic knowing that he stopped looking for his son after a long time, yes, but it's also fairly wholesome to know that his life wasn't just full of moping and depression the moment he stopped. He made a name for himself, and had a sort of family of his own. Bronn's character in this scene is just shown on full display, and he's just fucking wonderful. And the way he talks to Littlefoot throughout the film, and how he's always understanding to his decisions and choices about their future together is just... Film, you have no right being this good. What is happening? But with the boys and other characters now being mentioned and praised, it's time I talk about Littlefoot, the main character of this film, and the development he goes throughout the course of it. In the other movies, Littlefoot has always been wide-eyed, curious, and eager to experience the world and to learn of things he doesn't understand. In the 10th movie, this character is still here. Right after he gets the dream, he grows a sudden interest towards the sun and tries to connect it to his dream, even if the conclusion leaves him in more confusion and gets him ridiculed by Sarah. This scene also shows another side to Littlefoot's character. The side of him that's a bit cheeky when it comes to confronting Sarah, with him preferring to take your ego down a peg with just words and not violence. And once again, it's represented very well here.
In my sleep story last night, I saw you butt your head against this tall rock, and it split right in half. Yeah, but like you said, sleep stories are dumb. Something like that could never really happen.
Again, fucking scathing. Littlefoot's character has, so far, stayed very intact to the other films, and throughout the course of the journey, his natural curiosity, along with his recklessness, is shown on full display, with him always having questions and wonders about what this journey is about, like asking his grandmother many questions in one certain scene. When they actually get to the big crater, more of Littlefoot's character shines through in the part of him being very social and forgiving to those who wronged him, like him forgiving Shorty after he bodied him for no reason and being able to talk to Bronn pretty easily. Then, once the twist of who Bronn actually is finally revealed to him, Littlefoot has a fairly realistic reaction to such a fucking bombshell.
Littlefoot! Wait. Come back.
Hey, watch out.
I do really like how Littlefoot in this scene isn't mad at his dad, but that the reveal was simply too much for him to handle. So when Bronn catches up to him, instead of being passive-aggressive to him like other characters would, Littlefoot just straight up asks him where he's been all this time. Again, really like how this film is just getting straight to the point. And when he actually hears Bronn out and learns of what Bronn did and how his life has been up until this point, instead of being mad that his father moved on with a herd, Littlefoot looks up at him with childlike admiration, like how any child would look up to their dad, and welcomes Bronn back into his life with open arms. Or open tail? I don't know. Dinosaur terms, I don't... Moving on. This is a very in-character trait for Littlefoot. He's always been the kind of kid that welcomes anybody, family or friend. As the film goes on, Littlefoot and Bronn grow to have a very strong bond with each other, and when it comes to the subject of Shorty, Littlefoot, in his usual social way, tries to talk to Shorty to know that he is always welcome to be with Bronn. This scene does come off as Littlefoot sounding like an asshole, but in actuality, it's just Littlefoot being ignorant to the things he's saying to Shorty. He still deserves the rock to the face though, that goes without saying, but I can definitely tell you for absolute certainty that Littlefoot did not mean anything bad by it. Proven by when Shorty attempts to further the conflict, Littlefoot, in a completely in-character move, decides not to. He's grown throughout the films to choose talking over fighting, and it's shown great here. So far, Littlefoot has been completely consistent and hasn't yet done anything out of character, but it's when we get to the scene of Bronn talking to him about their future, does the film really show a new side to Littlefoot that hasn't been seen before. This story gives Littlefoot a choice. Live with his dad and leave his cherished memories of the Great Valley, his friends, and his grandparents behind, or stay in the Great Valley and put his reconnection with his dad on hold until he sees him again. And Jesus Christ, does this film really like to show you the inner turmoil this poor little bastard goes through. Even though his grandparents are completely fine with whatever choice he makes because they just want to see him happy, you can very easily see that this choice is eating Littlefoot from the inside out, proven by moving over to his grandparents and sleeping for half the night, and then moving back to his dad, halfway through. Even when his friends sing him a very touching song about how they're always going to be his friend no matter where he goes, Littlefoot still has this heartbreaking struggle on what decision he should make. On one hand, he's extremely happy to finally be with his dad, and he doesn't want to lose him. But on the other, he's lived so much of his life with his grandparents and his friends that he just can't imagine a life without any of them by his side. So, when he makes the final decision to choose his friends over his father, it shows the new side to Littlefoot's character. The part of him that has to let go of a person he just reconnected with, and a person he loves. And by howdy, this scene had no fucking right being this heartbreakingly sad. I think what just really sold this scene for me was Bronn's reaction to Littlefoot's decision. At first, he's very excited to have his son back in his life again and talks to him about his herd, but when he sees that Littlefoot isn't ready to leave his old life behind yet, he's disappointed, sure, but instead of being mad, he takes it in full grace, and says he'll try and come visit him in the Great Valley in the future. Him saying that he loves him before he leaves hits me in all the feels. Holy fuck, it's so bittersweet. And just the way Littlefoot's grandparents' face light up when he says he's ready to go home. Film, how are you doing this to me? I think there's times in your life when you look back at old things and say, you know, that piece of media really was something special. And even if that content isn't the greatest, rose-tinted nostalgia will be there to coat that heartwarming color all over it. And yeah, I could talk about how the characters learned Pat's name off screen, but you know something? Apart from that, I don't think I have anything else to complain about. I really mean it. The Great Longneck Migration is just a really solid film. It has great animation, great characters, and a great story. And it's one of those animated straight-to-DVD sequels that I would actually really recommend you check out. You may not like it as much as me, I'm perfectly aware of that, but hey, you only live once, right? What's wrong with giving something a try? But for now, my name is Manga Rider, and The Great Longneck Migration is just a good fucking movie. Look, don't fucking at me, I'm just right.